The UFO thing, I think, would be something that I would want to pursue.
Yes.
I mean, just for my own personal information, I would want to know what is going on.
Correct.
So the question is, are these special access programs that are above top secret and that this is our own stuff, or is this something that's far more bizarre and something that is interdimensional from another planet, whatever, you
Correct.
fill in the blank.
Okay, is it foreign? And if
Yeah.
it's foreign, is it
Right.
6,000 miles away or like 6,000 light years away?
Right,
Yes.
right.
And that is, I will answer that question eventually.
Really?
Yes. I'll get to the bottom of it.
How are you going to have the time to do that? Like, what
Well,
would that entail?
Eventually, I'll have like a few weeks where I can just sit down and worry about that problem.
You said something that I thought was very bizarre.
Here's an interesting thing, though. I will say that is one of those conspiracy theories that there are a lot of people in our government who are interested in this, meaning our current political leadership who are interested in this question. And it has, like, nothing has really happened yet, which makes me a little bit less interested in it. Because there are a lot of people with access to those files and access to that information, and nothing has changed since Biden left office, which makes me think other people have looked into it and they just haven't necessarily found something. But anyway, I eventually, I promise you, I'm going to like sit down and spend a couple of weeks trying to figure out what's in these files. I just haven't done it yet.
You said something that I thought was very odd.
Okay.
You said that you thought that they were demons.
Okay. I did say that.
What did you mean by that?
Well, first of all, there not just in Christianity, but in a number of world religions, there are a number of mystical things that happened, extra dimensional, I'm not one of these people who's like a hyper rationalist. Like I think that there are things happening in the world that we're not always seeing. I believe in God. I think that there is a kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Not extra real.
Supernatural.
Supernatural. There are supernatural things that are happening. Okay. So if you look historically at, things that are similar to the alien phenomenon, where, some like strange being, it kind of looks like a human being, but doesn't look like, but it's not human. And it shows a particular interest in human beings. And then it takes the human beings and, does weird experiments on them. I think my argument is that's either bullshit, right? You're either talking to a crazy person, which I don't like. I'm not saying just because I believe in the supernatural doesn't mean I believe in everything supernatural. But if we're talking about an extraterrestrial being that is human-like but not human, that contains effectively infinite powers and is torturing human beings, you can call it an alien if you want, but I think there's a lot of historical precedent to call that a demon.
Well, a lot of these stories and these accounts.
We have one here on the
demonic
on the coaster.
Alien. Yeah, that's the mothership logo. A lot of these accounts are not of people being tortured. They're people that are being exposed to information, like the Travis Walton story is a very famous case from the 1970s.
I don't know this one. I'm going to read about it on the way back, though.
It's this guy right here. I got a Travis Walton bobblehead. He's one of the most famous UFO abduction stories.
Okay.
There's a movie with D.B. Cooper in
And what is the information that they gave Travis Walton?
Was D.B. Cooper that was the D.B. Sweeney. D.B. Cooper was the guy who stole the money and jumped out of the plane. Fire in the Sky. There's a movie.
Oh, of course. Yeah, I remember this movie. I don't think I ever saw it, though.
1993. Good movie, but sensational. And Travis Walton says they made a bunch of shit up, and that's not what happened. But
yeah,
the story was that he was a logger in Arizona, and he was leaving a job. They were all together in a truck, and these loggers saw this light land in this forest, and they went to go investigate. He jumps out of the truck, and he gets close to it, and he's hit by some beam of light and knocked to the ground. They take off, and then they realize, we've got to go back. We don't know what's going on. They turn around. They go back to get him. They're freaked out and panicked. They go back to get him. He's gone. The police interview them. They think that they killed him. There's an investigation. 5 days later, he shows up, wearing the same clothes, and he has this crazy story. And he had been in this spaceship for 5 days, is what he said, and that they had fixed him, they healed him, and then they had communicated with him telepathically, and he had this very bizarre encounter with these beings that aren't from here. Or if they are from here, they're very different than us.
Okay, so I guess my response to that would be extra powerful beings, in this case communicating telepathically, helping people. Sounds like an angel. So I guess
Right.
here's let me
Right.
make the steel man version of my argument. It's that, okay, my dog, there's no real difference between me and God to my dog. I can literally walk into a room and turn the light on. I can make food appear instantaneously. I can transport myself across time and space very, very rapidly. If you're a human being with intelligence, but not supernatural intelligence, I guess my point is, again, this could all be bullshit. This could all be fake. That's a possibility. But if it's real, is there really a meaningful difference between an angel or a demon and a space alien with super technology? To our perception, they would largely just look like the same thing.
I think we're capable of nuance. We're capable of understanding that human beings are far more complex and evolved than chimpanzees. And we could imagine a world where if we don't blow ourselves up and there's not a nuclear bomb and we don't get hit by an asteroid, if we live another 1,000,000 years, that we would have technology that's indistinguishable from magic. Right?
Exactly. That's
right.
exactly
But
what
that
I'm saying. And then we could
that
show
they're
up on
angels
another planet.
and demons. It just means they're hyper-evolved, advanced civilizations from somewhere else.
And what I'm saying is the perception of those beings to a more simple intelligence,
Sure.
there's not a meaningful difference. So you're like talking about what it is that these things actually are. And I guess what I'm talking about is, how would a human being with my level of intelligence or your level of intelligence in 2026 understand what's going on?
Right, but from a biblical perspective, there's a very big difference between a demon and a hyper-intelligent being from somewhere else.
I mean, a demon or a hyper-intelligent, malicious...
If demons are real, if there really are dark forces in the universe, and they're disembodied dark forces, these things that exist,
Yes.
and then there's also powerful light forces in the universe, that they don't have to be mutually exclusive to the concept of hyper-intelligent other species.
Absolutely.
When you're looking at an insanely vast universe.
I don't think they have to be, but I think that it is interesting to me that for most of human history, we would have understood supernatural, hyper-powerful, hyper-knowledgeable things as sort of celestial, or celestial.
We would have thought of a cell phone as being sorcery. I mean, that doesn't
Maybe
mean
it
it's
is.
sorcery. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's just technology. That argument doesn't make any sense to me.
Well,
and this is not discounting the possibility of demons or discounting the possibility of angels.
well, I guess I understand your point conceptually. I don't actually disagree with this. I don't think we're saying something different. That, metaphysically, there could be two separate things going on. There could be there could be extra Earth, outside of Earth, space aliens, and there could also be angels and demons. These could be two totally separate things. One could be true, not the other. I totally concede and agree with that point. I guess what I'm saying is it's a distinction that is conceptually interesting to me, but if a space alien with like superhuman technology comes to the Earth and has malicious intent, I don't know how I'm supposed to tell the difference between that and a demon.
If they have malicious intent. But I mean, isn't that also the case with visiting people, right? Like you could have a country and you get visited by the Peace Corps, or you get visited by pirates.
Yeah.
And are the pirates demons? Is the Peace Corps angels?
No, but I think we're talking about something much different. I mean,
Are we? Are we
we're,
talking about something different, or are we talking about a hyper advanced version of that?
we're talking about, I mean, as I understand it, we're talking about things that exist outside the United States. Outside of the Earth. Okay. And two
Perhaps.
different types of beings that could exist outside. I mean, okay, maybe
There's a lot of people.
Yep,
Tim
who think that
Burchett thinks that they're here.
there's Atlantis or there's something else
Well,
like that.
they're somehow or another they're survivors of a long gone civilization that live under the ocean.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
just as
here-
kooky
here's-
as living
but
in
here's
space.
Here's the way I would put it is like there's also a difference between a demon and a ghost, right? These things are two very different conceptual things.
Right.
But if I'm a human being and I meet a malicious ghost, maybe I think it's a demon, and maybe all I'm saying is maybe there's some point at which the conceptually interesting, this is such a weird conversation, at which point the conceptually interesting discussion of what it is separate from how it appears to me and how I'm going to understand it as a human being in my particular social and cultural context in 2026. But if you're looking for me to concede the point that there is something different or could be something different between an angel, a demon, a space alien, a supernatural but non any of those other things beings, yes, I concede that.
Yeah, the question is, what do these special access programs, like, what is the information that's available? Like, how,
My understanding
according
is
to
that it's
David
basically-
Grush and a
Yeah.
lot of these other people, that there have been crash retrieval programs.
Okay, and I've talked to Dave before. I think I called him actually after he was on your podcast. So there's like the crash retrieval stuff of whether that's real or not, where is it, etc. There's the videos, right? There are all of these videos, some of which have been released and declassified, that seem to me show some pretty weird stuff. And then there might be other pieces of evidence as well. I'm not saying there is or isn't. I just don't know. I try to keep an open mind about this stuff. All I'm saying is I'm fascinated by it. I don't have like some secret sauce, at least not yet, that tells me what's true and what's false. I'm just saying this is something that I'm interested in, but it doesn't. It's because it's like anything in life where, do I have to figure this out this week? No. So I'm going to do the things that I have to, like negotiate with the Iranians and try to get this bill passed.
So let's imagine a world where the Iranian negotiations go swimmingly. Everything's
God
done.
willing. God
you
willing.
know, all these Gulf Arab states decide, hey, let's invest money in Iran. Let's change hearts and minds. Whew. Okay. Avoided a gigantic apocalyptic scenario. What could be done? Like, if we have information,
Well, I
like,
think it's
who has this information, and why are they holding on to this information? And what do you know the Hal Puthoff story?
No.
So Hal Puthoff, who used to work for NASA, said that he was brought in during the Bush administration, where they were proposing disclosure, and they were saying. This is what they were saying. They're saying we have biological remains and we have physical crafts. We're proposing disclosure, and they brought in a bunch of thought leaders, different disciplines, different schools of thought, and they said, "I want you to compile a list of pros and cons and put a numerical value on how this is going to affect society, how is this going to affect religion,
Yeah.
how is this going to affect government, how is this going to affect economy, all these different things." And when they compiled this list, every one of them had more in the con than in the pro, and they decided against disclosure because of that. Now, if that's the case, what are we talking about? Like, who has this information, and what is this information? I mean, if that wasn't just a thought experiment,
Yeah.
if they weren't really just fucking with these people, which I don't understand why they would do that, but let's assume what is known, and why would they prevent that information from getting out?
Well, that's a big if.
Have you seen the movie The Age of Disclosure?
I've not.
Okay. Well, a lot of people, including intelligence officers, different people in the government are in this documentary. And one of the things that they're saying is part of the problem with all this is if they have had these programs going on for so long, that means they've been misappropriating funds and they've been lying to Congress. So all these people that were involved in these
I've heard
programs,
this argument. Yeah, I've heard this argument. Yeah.
So Lou Elizondo and all these
Yep.
other people have said, look, what we're going to need is mass amnesty for people that are involved in this. It's the only way you're ever really going to get to the bottom of it.
So
The problem with that is if you've got unlimited money and you've got misappropriation of funds and lying to Congress, I guarantee some of that money has gone to places it shouldn't have gone.
100%.
Like it always does.
Yeah. So, like, it's always very hard to engage in these, like, super generic, super general, I should say, hypotheticals because, you know, like, yeah, if look, we've got remains of space aliens and we're hiding them, then there are a million other there are a million possibilities for that. What would explain it, how it would have happened. I am skeptical that's true. And the reason I'm skeptical that it's true that we have the physical remains is not because I don't think that's something that like is physically possible or that the government's willing to do and able to do a lot of crazy stuff in our history and the history of all governments. I am skeptical of the competence. I actually made this point to Dave when we talked, and I think he's a very interesting guy. So I don't mean to insult him or say I disagree with him about everything, but I made this point to Dave when we talked. It's like if we have literal space alien remains in the custody of the United States government, there is no way that wouldn't leak out in some way.
Well, it has leaked out anecdotally.
Well, I guess that's the counter argument.
Yeah,
but I think it would
do you know
leak
the
out
Nixon
more
story?
than
The Nixon Jackie Gleason story?
No, I want to hear that, but like with cell phones and every way that we have, like it's plausible to me you could hide that in an era where you have to have a giant camera the size of these antlers in order to take a photo of something. But dude, I can take, like you have cameras now that are like literally this tiny. That's the part that I'm skeptical of.
Okay,
that we're hiding that.
Let me push back against that because
Okay.
you know that if you have any sort of top secret, like if you go into a skiff, like there's no way you're bringing cameras in there.
Okay.
You're look. When I came here to this podcast studio, they had a dog check my trunk.
And it's your
they had
studio?
to pop my trunk. Yeah.
Okay.
Like I'm gonna blow up my own studio.
Yeah, but okay. So
you know what I'm saying?
But the counter argument though is they check that stuff on you. They don't check that stuff on everybody.
Everybody here, they did.
Everybody here.
Yeah,
But I'm saying
so, but if
all
there's a
you
place-
need is one official with like the highest security clearance. Now, okay, you're right. Certain devices like emanate signals that they can pick up on Bluetooth and all that shit. But
to have access to go into a room where they have these things,
And
if they did have these things, I guarantee you they're going to make sure no one's got anything. They could easily scan you to make sure that you don't have any kind of electronics, any kind of camera, any kind of recording device. That's not hard.
I mean,
Especially if you've got something squirreled away at Area 51.
in the next 2.5 years, we're going to run this experiment because I got 2.5 more years as VP. And I swear to you, if there are little green men, like body remains,
Text me, please.
Well, I'm not going to text. No, I'm not going to text you. I'm going to try to smuggle a camera and get a photo of these things.
Well, how would you, the Vice President of the United States of America, have to have a camera smuggled in to do that?
Well, maybe I wouldn't. But again, I've seen.
Do you think that you have the kind of authority?
Of
Like, look, let's imagine you find out that at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base they have
Hangar
some
18.
secure facility somewhere. Maybe it's not there. Maybe it's
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
they've
I know
kept
what
it
you
under
mean.
wraps. Maybe it's in the mountains somewhere.
Yeah.
And you find out that this thing exists. Do you think it's as simple as you could just go out and tell everybody? Or do you think that you get briefed on the implications of what would happen if you disclosed all this information?
Well, I would definitely get briefed on the implications of what would
and
happen.
they would
if I disclosed
probably
this
tell you,
information.
hey, you have to bullshit people.
Yeah, but dude, I'm not.
You're not going to bullshit people?
Well, look, I have many skills as a politician and some vices, but like one of them is I'm just not a good liar.
Well, then they're not going to show it to you. You just fucked up. You just fucked up on this podcast by saying that.
What I
They'll
am
show it
telling
to
you,
the ladies on The View. That's
that's right.
the intellectual leaders of our
Trust me,
world.
they show it to the ladies of the View. It will be said 2 hours later. Anyway, I am like
maybe
again.
they show it to them just so that no one will believe it.
I do want to look into this stuff. I'm just telling you, I have not yet seen the evidence that we have certainly extraterrestrial remains, but there's a lot of stuff before extraterrestrial remains that's also interesting. Like the flight patterns in some of these videos are
Yes.
super weird.
Well, the Commander David Fravor stuff is bananas. It goes from 50,000 feet above sea level to sea level in like a second.
To what people say, right? Like, because one of the arguments I've heard, for example, is, could this just be a visual lure on the camera or something like that? Okay, that sounds to me plausible. I'm not an expert in cameras, but then what the pilots, their reaction to it, it's not like they're looking at a visual lure on a camera. It's like they're looking at something else that's really, really weird and difficult to explain, given what they know about, physics and aeronautical engineering, et cetera. So anyway, I am fascinated by this, but I just don't want to tell people like, oh, I've uncovered the truth, or I haven't, because I haven't looked at it yet.
Right. Well, I would, if I was you, that would be the first thing I did. I'd storm right in there and go,
Let's talk about
"What do
tax
you got?"
policy.
Is that what you want to talk about?
No.
We could talk about tax
This
policy.
is way more interesting.
I would want to know. I mean, I think the world wants to know. I think it would fundamentally change our understanding of what it means to be a living organism.
Okay, what do you think? Like, what is your you know more about this than I do.
I don't
What do you
think we're
actually
alone.
think? But okay,
I
fine,
don't think we're
agree.
alone. I just don't understand what it is.
Okay,
I don't know if it's.
so you don't have like a strong view about what it is. You're just
I
sort
don't
of
have any.
generally curious.
I don't have any data, right? So I don't have any proof. So I believe Commander David Fravor. I believe Ryan Graves.
Yeah.
He was a fighter pilot that said that when they upgraded their equipment on these fighter jets in 2014, all of a sudden they started seeing these things that were staying completely motionless at 120 knot winds, and they were a cube inside of a sphere, a black cube inside of some sort of
Well, okay, so this is I know you've talked to Eric Weinstein.
Yes.
And, I haven't talked to you about this lately, but one of the things that Eric sort of kind of persuaded me of a couple of years ago was...
It's Weinstein. They get very sensitive because of
Weinstein.
Harvey.
Okay, got it. Eric Weinstein. Good thought. Speaking of pedophiles, I guess Harvey wasn't a
guess he
pedophile.
wasn't
He had many sins, but not that one.
Candace Owens says he's innocent.
Interesting. Okay.
Or not guilty of everything that they said he was.
So, okay, Eric Weinstein, this is probably 3-4 years ago, persuades me of this, actually. Now, it's an interesting theory. His argument is, in the same way that I would say, what's the difference between an extraterrestrial and an angel or a demon, depending on its intentions, from the perspective of a human in 2026? His argument would be, what's the difference between a space alien and a human being, but just a human being with super advanced technology, right? Mm-hmm. And so I don't know if this is still his view, but he kind of was, he was like, let's say you had human beings who just were super scientifically advanced. Like what we know of the laws of physics, as I understand it, is that light speed is sort of the upper limit of what one of our spaceships could travel. Okay, you can't go any faster than the speed of light. Well, that's a problem because everything else that could support of extraterrestrial life is many light years away. Okay. So his argument to me, again, back in the day, was if you figured out a new physics in the same way that you had an understanding shift from Newtonian physics to Einsteinian physics, if you have a new understanding of physics that allows you to travel much faster than the speed of light, you could just have human beings either from a different planet, or maybe they went to Mars and started their own civilization, and then that got old, and at this point they are many millions of light years away, but they can move through space and time in a way that is quite literally like divine from our perspective, or space aliens, but they're just human beings.
It could be human beings from the future.
If time travel is possible, why?
But it also we know that life exists on Earth. So if life exists on Earth, Earth is a planet. There are hundreds of billions of stars that have hundreds of billions of planets. Yep. We have no idea how many planets there are in the known universe that could potentially support life. And if these things live on these planets and they live far longer than we have, like if you showed a nuclear bomb to someone from 100 years ago, they would say that's the craziest fucking thing I've ever seen in my life. You show them a reactor, show them a cell phone,
absolutely.
Show them that television.
So it's like my dog with a light switch, right?
Just to be able to FaceTime someone in New Zealand. Like what is that? What are you doing?
That's right.
Now advance that forward 1 million years. And
that's right.
Then, instead of using propulsion, you are instead manipulating space-time.
So that's exactly right. And one of the things, I've talked with Elon about this, and Elon is obviously a super smart dude, but I've never heard like a super satisfying answer to this. One of the things that worries me, like I want humans to be a multiplanetary species. I want us to go to Mars and set up a colony, and like that's sort of, I love humanity. I want it to continue. And the problem with space travel that I've, again, not heard a satisfactory solution to is, when we're outside of the Earth's gravity, our genes, like our actual DNA, seems to not function as well when it's not on Earth-style gravity, which makes sense, right? We developed in these conditions with this gravity. So whenever you have somebody who goes to the International Space Station for like 3 months or 6 months, and they come back and they are totally jacked up because like literally the cells in their body are starting to like discombobulate in response to a low gravity environment.
Right.
We have to figure out a solution to that problem. That to me is sort of the most interesting part of space travel, of going to Mars, of setting up a colony on another planet, is if you set up a colony on Mars, but and what it takes you like 2 years to get there and 2 years to get back or something like that. Right. But in that time, you've gone from a functioning adult, healthy, to like dead. Right. If you're in space for 4 years, that part of space travel is very fascinating to me, and I don't know that I've heard any satisfactory solution to it yet.
I don't think conventionally there is a satisfactory solution, but if you're talking about manipulating space-time and not traditional propulsion,
you probably can figure that out.
You could manipulate, you could essentially contain this environment in exactly the same way it is, and travel to somewhere else with that environment. So this is the idea of them living under the surface of the ocean.
I see.
Like, how can they live in the depths of the ocean? Well, because they have a completely contained environment.
Sure.
I mean, who knows?
Yeah.
It's all just nonsense.
Maybe they figured out how I can eat like steak and Grater's ice cream and have the blood profile of eating, chicken and salad.